It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, where every guest is treated like Caesar and every visit is unforgettable.
It is the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. That means Teddy Covers is in the house. Ari Platinum producing the show. I'm Dave Cokin, and Jeff Davis, Director of Trading for Caesars Entertainment, is with us on the phone. Joins us every Wednesday at this time. And Jeff, too bad there's nothing to talk about today. Oh, boy. Oh, man. This is going to be good. I mean, we've got the NHL ends tonight. The NBA continues with a Game 6. We got the U.S. Open this week. Other good stuff as well. Let's start with the NHL because it doesn't get any better than a Game 7 for the Stanley Cup. This is going to be super intense tonight.
Absolutely, Dave. Game 7, Stanley Cup Finals, what else could we ask for? Numbers gotten a bit out of control, if you ask me. Bruins minus 70, minus 80. I see an 85 out there. Seems a bit high. If I didn't already have a position on the Blues, I'd surely jump in and take plus 60. Game figures to be played really tight, and I don't know. I have a strange feeling the refs are going to not call very many penalties tonight, probably let the boys play. And I think that helps St. Louis. Boston is far superior on both sides of the ice in special teams. The more 5-on-5 that gets played, the better it is for St. Louis. Looks like Grzelcyk's going to be back for Boston. He'll be in for Clifton tonight, which means Grzelcyk will get a brunt of John Moore's minutes. That figures to help Boston. And looking at an in-running betting opportunity here, looks like if the Blues score first, you know they're going to sit on it. They're going to dump it in. They're going to leave 3 or even 4 guys in the neutral zone. The game is going to become a very, very ugly stalemate of a game. Blues score first, I feel like in-running under is a great betting opportunity. If the Bruins score first, the opposite might happen. The Blues are going to have to start taking some chances. Boston's far superior offensively, and they have a ton of speed. This should open up the game. Might look to take the over if Boston scores first.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. I mean, because the history is pretty clear. The last team to lose a Game 6 at home and then win a Game 7 on the road for the Stanley Cup was the 1945 Toronto Maple Leafs. Wow. It doesn't happen a whole lot. And the history for home teams in Game 7 is pretty good, 12-4, although it was 12-2 prior to the road team winning in the last 2 opportunities. Do you make anything of the history, or for you, is all about the matchups for these 2 teams tonight?
You know, I don't make too much of it because it's really this series and only this series, and it's been, you know, what is it? The road team has won 4 of the 6 games this series, and it seems like in the last handful of years in the NHL playoffs, the home ice advantage is just it's decreased a little bit. Yeah. And, you know, I don't put as much stock into the history as anything else, and I put a lot of it into the officiating tonight, not necessarily nitpicking on good calls or bad calls, but how they're going to call the game. Are they going to call it tight and call a bunch of penalties, which would help Boston, or is it going to be more of an old-school, early 80s playoff game where, you know, you'd have to do something that would get you arrested to get 2 minutes for the, 2-minute penalty?
And as you mentioned, that's going to tie into the total in a very significant way, because if there are a lot of penalties called, if it's a tightly officiated game, you probably don't want to be on the under. But if they let the kids play, I think it does favor the under. And one other thing that favors the under, again, we're going to the history books here, but 5 has been, they just don't score goals in Game 7s. Everybody's tight. They don't want to make that critical mistake, and nobody takes a lot of chances. And, you know, you're going to have to pay a premium to bet the under in this game, but it looks like the bettors are willing to do so right now.
Yeah, we opened 5.5 under minus $1.55, and it got as low as under 60. Some places have gone to the 5 total with overjuice 30, 35, 40. And now we're sitting about 5.5 under minus $1.50. Did take a biggish bet over plus $1.35. Ticket count exactly even on the total. Money almost identical. So we've got differing opinions here.
All right. Well, it's going to be exciting, that's for sure. Who would you say is Conn Smythe worthy as the top playoff performer, depending on which team wins?
I actually think Rask wins if the Blues win 1-0 tonight.
Wow.
I think Rask is so far the favorite. If the Blues win a very low-scoring game, even 2-0, and maybe 2 of the unsung Blues scored, I still think Rask can win. He has been absolutely unbelievable all playoffs long, and to me, it would take questionable voting if he weren't to win, if Boston were to win tonight.
So let's talk about the other significant playoff series that's going right now in the NBA Finals. The Golden State Warriors in pretty much an epic Game 5. That's an NBA classic where Toronto looked like they had it, and depending on your opinion, the Warriors snatched it away or the Raptors choked it away. I'm kind of the latter variety of the two. Golden State did what we thought they were going to do the last couple of minutes. They hit 3 3-pointers. Toronto didn't do anything, didn't get any calls, and ended up losing the game. But now, obviously, the series shifts back to Golden State. Are bettors expecting the Raptors to respond well? And all the injury information that's bouncing around right now, with Durant obviously out, but potentially Kevin Looney in. How's the money moving on Toronto and Golden State for Game 6?
We opened 4 immediately after Game 5, and there's just been a steady stream of sharp Raptor money. We're down to Golden State minus 2.5. Total open 211. It's still there. Not much going on there. But interestingly enough, before Game 5, we took an absolute avalanche of Golden State series money, ranging from plus $5 all the way down to plus $4.10. And we were a winner to both teams in the futures market coming into the series, and now we actually have a reasonable loss to Golden State and a giant win to Toronto. So the Golden State money in terms of the series hadn't stopped, but now they're betting the Raptors for Game 6. So interesting split there.
Is that hedge money more as much as anything else?
I don't know. I think it's more of, I think the Raptor Game 6 money seems to be the sharp side, and I think the series money was more of, are the Raptors really going to close Golden State out, or the Golden State, they're just going to win the 3 games and do what they always do and win the NBA championship?
Yeah, sure. Last game at Oracle Arena. Let me ask you this. For Game 5, did you guys get burned with the Warriors winning by exactly 1 point? I know there were many books that bounced anywhere between Toronto as the favorite and a significant favorite in that game of a couple of points, and then as high as Golden State minus 1.5. And I heard some books took a bath on that game. Did you?
We actually won a tiny bit, but that's only because we won a lot to the total. We were a loser to the side. The Golden State money kept coming, and we got saved a little bit with the total. Again, not a disaster, but with all the handle that was bet on that game, and of course it falls. If it falls any other number, the result would have been better, but again, not a disaster.
You know what's really interesting here, and we're talking with Jeff Davis. You can follow him on Twitter at @_Junkyard from Caesars Entertainment, of course. Teddy covers us here. I'm Dave Cokin. Now, the pressure's supposed to, if you're looking at this logically, the pressure's on Golden State because if they lose, their season's over, obviously, and Toronto has that cushion of even if they lose, going back to Toronto for Game 7. And yet, I kind of feel because of the way Game 5 finished, where the Raptors had the Warriors dead. They had him. It's a 6-point lead with just over 2 minutes to go. You're not supposed to lose that game.
I tweeted it, and I was like, I don't delete tweets, but this one did not age well because we've seen enough NBA Finals.
But
that series was over.
Well, it was. But
it
now
felt
it's not
over.
So, and here's my it's kind of a convoluted logic type of thing, Jeff. But I think the pressure's on the Raptors here. As weird as that sounds, even with them having another game at home, if they don't win here, they're not going to beat Golden State in Game 7. And I don't bet much NBA. I'll be all over the Warriors in Game 7 if it goes back to that. I think mentally Toronto had better get it done here. And I think the bettors might be looking at it that way as well, which might explain some of the action.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Dave. Taking all the matchups and, the NBA aside and just looking at it from a I guess, a psychological standpoint, a sports standpoint. Makes a lot of sense. And it kind of happened to the Bucks against the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Final, and it's the same way. They have to feel the pressure here. I mean, the Warriors have gone through so much, and like you said, they were dead and buried with 2 minutes to go, and they end up winning. And for sure, they got to feel like they're playing with house money a little bit here.
But it's plus interesting. The fact, we've seen this before with Golden State, where the team that was ahead and looked like they were in great shape, Houston Rockets, they just got mentally beaten once they lost that fifth game. And I think the same thing might happen here. I know it's square to like the Warriors, but I kind of do.
But it's interesting to see this Game 6 spread that's now down to 2.5.
Well, the sharp money's on Toronto.
That was the number without Klay Thompson in the lineup, without Durant or Thompson. And now they're saying, well, Thompson's, good to go, but there's no Durant. And the markets are like, yeah, but it's just interesting to me to see Klay Thompson now, I guess, officially worth nothing to a point spread.
Well, he'll be worth something, I think.
He might.
All right, let's head to Pebble Beach. I wish we were doing that literally, but we'll do it at least figuratively here. U.S. Open this week, and wow, I mean, from what I'm hearing, this is going to be Masters-level volume. It's just a ton of action out there. The big names are almost all coming in good form. I mean, this is going to be tremendous stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The handle is it'll never approach the Masters because the Masters is on the board for so long.
Right.
And, we put this up, this has been up, since probably just before the PGA went. And the handle has already eclipsed what the PGA did. And it just keeps coming in today. The matchups, the props, the future market, the handle just keeps rolling in. And how could it not? You've got a tremendous field on, one of the most iconic golf courses this country has. And what's interesting about the U.S. Open is it's a very difficult handicap in that you never really know how hard they're going to make a course that they play on regularly. So, like, if you look at, they play Pebble Beach every year, but you can't put too much stock into the results because they play with amateurs, so the setup is easy, the greens run slow. They actually only play this course 2 of the 4 rounds. And to give you an example, I dug this up. Mark O'Meara, multiple-time major winner, won the AT&T Pebble regular season event 5 times in his career. He played the U.S. Open there 3 times, and he didn't crack the top 50. So, I'm not looking too much at course form here. I think U.S. Open form is more important.
Well, we've had 2 majors this year. We've had 2 chalky results, shall we say. I want a long shot that's going to win this. Who do we got?
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck is right, Dave. And again, with the handicap being so tough, I've kind of taken it upon to find guys that are, trying to bet prices that are going to beat the close and hope you get there. A guy we talked about, Dave, last week, Brandt Snedeker, surely interesting on the West Coast, putts the Poa greens really well, comes in good form, and the market has really adjusted. You can't find 60-1 anywhere, and if you got on him a few weeks ago, you could have found as high as 80 or 90-1. If you're looking for an outsider, I think he's surely live. You could look here, there, and anywhere. One that's interesting, another guy we talk about all the time, isn't getting talked about at all this week, and he's really drifted down the odds board. Now, he might not be as long as you want, Teddy, but you can find 30 or 35-1 on Jason Day out there. That price never exists on Jason Day in a major, and he's not in great form. He missed the cut at the Memorial, but interestingly enough, he just hired Stevie Williams, Tiger, and Adam Scott's old caddy, and you wonder if that's going to inject some life into him. He's always had great form at the U.S. Open, so I find him very interesting. On the other side, I find Rory McIlroy to be a very interesting fade opportunity this week. hasn't been in, outside of winning at Sawgrass, he's been in good but not great form and not shown a lot of ability to win until Sunday.